YouTube, what has happened? We got a video today on this Civivi Pintail. This is a new model for 2021, I believe. Came out in January. Maybe it came out at the end of December. But very, very new model. I think their latest model. Who knows? Hard to keep track. They put out so many knives. This one really caught my eye. Comes in different variants. Micarta, green micarta, this brown micarta. It comes in like, I think, a carbon fiber with like Damascus. A lot of options. It's a S35 VM blade. So it's a step up in steel for Civivi, not usually their D2, their 918 series MLB. Step up in steel. The micarta handle options are great. And price-wise, about 83 bucks on Amazon. So not bad at all. I actually prefer the green micarta with the black blade. I was really on a natural micarta kick, and I got the F5.5 at the same time, and this is definitely my favorite of the micarta knives. So I would probably pick up that other version if I were to keep this knife. I probably will. It's an overall fantastic EDC folder. So let's talk about, let's do some size comparisons, and we'll talk about some specs. Here is the Benchmade bug out, the Mini Osborne. So they're very similar in size to each other. So the bug out's obviously a little bit bigger than the Pintail, and that Mini 940 is very close in size. So these are about 3-inch blades, you know, 4-inch handle type size EDC knives. Very good size for EDC for most people. There next to the 5.5. It's a little bit, the 5.5 is a little longer in the handle, which I like, but this overall works. It's weird because they were both listed essentially as a 4-inch handle, 3-inch blade, but you can see that this is definitely longer in the handle. So it's kind of in between the bug out and the F5.5. So, and like I said, the Mini 945, wow, that was hard to open for some reason, is nearly identical in size. So if this knife's too small, you know, this just gives you a good idea of size comparison. So they have the specs listed as a 4-inch handle, 3-inch blade, S35 VN steel, drop point with a hollow grind, satin finish, plain edge, obviously. You got your typical Civivi logo there. I don't love the black hardware. I wish they would have done satin hardware. It looks so much better with satin hardware. The green micarta version looks great with this version of hardware, but it has a, or excuse me, there's one with green micarta and like a black wash type blade. That looks really good with this hardware, but this needs to be all satin. It's weird that they do black. I think it's just a cost cutting measure, honestly. So this knife reminds me of the Elementum and the Hooligan. It's like if those two knives had a baby, this is what it would look like, because it has a very similar size and feel and flipping action to the Elementum, but then it also has thumb stud deployment like the Hooligan. So it's like you took those two and put them together. So I like having options. I like the thumb stud deployment. I like the flipper deployment. Depends on your mood, right? It's smooth either way you look at it. It's got great action. It's pretty thin knife. I think the length or the blade thickness is actually really thin at 0.10. It's got nice thin blade stock. Your handle thickness is going to be under a ½ inch. That can't be right. Something's whack with my yet. So I thought it wasn't zeroed. Yeah, 0.457 inches is what I'm getting in thickness. So it's a pretty thin knife. I have a medium-sized glove or hand, and it fits my hand just fine. It's a little bit smaller, like I said, than the 5.5. That one fits my hand a little bit better. I got some jimping on the thumb wrap here, which is fine, but my hand naturally comes to this flat right here, and I kind of wish the jimping is up there. I know aesthetically it doesn't look as good, but that's one thing I talked about in this review. I love that the jimping's up there. Fox does that in all their designs. They're his designs, and I love it because it just works better. It's like they just threw jimping here to throw jimping here, because you're not going to choke back here to do that. And if you're choked all the way back here, your hand is, you're not getting a full front finger grip unless you got really small hands. So I wish the jimping was a little farther forward. And I wish it had satin hardware. Other than that, it's got great centering out of the box. It's got a nice snappy action. Not quite drop shut without a shake, but it's good. The detent is somewhere in between flipping and thumb stud deployment, which is where it should be, because it does have both options. If you have too strong of a detent, you're only going to be able to flip it. The thumb stud's not going to work. It does middle finger flick really nicely because of the detent. So the detent's pretty dialed in where it needs to be at. So where this blade really shines, obviously besides its value at $83 with S35 in micarta is the thickness behind the edge is very thin for a factory knife. It is at 12 thousandths behind the edge. It's actually a little, even a little thinner than the f5.5. I love that about Civivi and WE knives is that they get the fact that we don't want super thick behind the edge knives. You know, one of my biggest complaint about most American companies like Benchmade, Spyderco, who you name it, Hinder, Chris Reeve, all of them, minus Strider really. Strider's really started to thin out their grinds. They're making they're nice, or usually around 20 thousandths behind the edge, which is fine. It's not way thick, like 25 thousandths or 30 thousandths, but it could be thinner. There's no reason why a small knife like this needs a thick grind. Now this issue lies with this height of this blade a lot and the design overall, but the bug out is one that is a little thinner behind the edge. I think these are more like 18 thousandths. They were. This one's been sharpened a lot. So I love that about Civivi and WE though. They really get that. So does Riot most of the time. They just get that these knives have thinner blade stock and a thinner edge. They're going to be slicier. They're going to cut things better. It's like a weird thing that American companies don't get. Every Spyderco, every Benchmade is at least 20 thousandths or more behind the edge. It's like very rare to find when it's not. And I like that about these knives. So let's go ahead and roll in some footage of some cutting, going through some media. Super easy to cut through cardboard, this thing, man. It just flies through it. It just takes little to zero pressure to get through cardboard. And not just because it's sharp, and it is sharp. I haven't stropped. Yeah, it's still cutting paper great, and I did a lot of wood carving, did a lot of some zip ties, did a lot of cardboard, not as much as the Vox on cardboard, but just has held the edge really well too. So let me roll in that footage and we'll wrap it up. Don't notice any hot spots at all, either in the hammer or the saber grip. It really bites into that wood. Just getting some shavings going. Go through a couple zip ties here. These suckers are thick. Oh, obviously cut through that one a little bit. Yeah, no problem at all. It's the benefit of having a thin blade stock and thin behind the edge is it goes through materials. Oh, I didn't go through that. Oh. There we go. It goes through materials quite easily, especially cardboard, which is I would say, what 99% of us have in common for a knife that we use to, you know, some sort of material. I'm not carving on wood too often. If I am, I'm usually out camping and I have a different knife. I don't usually have a folding knife, but you know, if you needed to, you could. But I do the wood cut more to test ergos, because getting that hammer grip and the saber grip, and really, I mean, cutting cardboard doesn't really test ergos. I think wood is a really, you know, carving into wood is a really good test of ergonomics. So far the Civivi does good on everything. All right, guys. As promised, that thing, it just flies through cardboard. So this could very well be my budget knife of the year. It's just, I know the year's just started. It's January. It's going to have a lot of knives coming out this year that I probably won't get my hands on all of them. I don't typically buy Chinese-made knives very frequently. I have a few lately just because there's been some really good designs, like the Vox 5.5, the Ace Grand, this one that I want to check out. But because there's a lot of good designs that are made overseas. And I know a lot of people don't care. They just like a nicely made knife that has a good design. It doesn't matter the origin of country to them. Some people were very adamant about that. So I try to hit both viewpoints as much as I can. So, you know, that's kind of a goal of the channel this year, to do that. I think for the money, 83 bucks on Amazon, get them on Blade HQ, you can get them a lot of different places. It's fantastic. Again, I would love to see hardware that's not all black. I like the satin would look way better with the brown micarta. The deep carry clip works well. I didn't notice any hot spots when doing the wood carving and the hammer grip. I mean, I was really wrenching down on it, and that clip doesn't, it's a fold over style clip, which can tend to do that, but it's nicely angled, and it just doesn't. I could see this maybe causing an issue for some people, to how this kind of ramps up like that, but it didn't for me. It's just an overall great little user knife, especially for the money. You get S35 for under 100 bucks. That's always a good deal. So definitely a winner, guys. Check it out. Thanks for watching. I'll put a link in the description where you can buy from my Amazon store to help support the channel, and we'll see you next time.